Hi, I'm Alex Gore, and this is Lance Psycho, and we're the principals of F9 Productions.
F9 Productions is Longmont, Colorado's largest architecture firm. We comprise of a team of 7 people. We do anything and everything custom residential, from designing and building tiny houses, to real estate development, to townhomes, to additions. We're fast, we're friendly, we're affordable, we listen, and we love our clients. We are an award-winning architecture firm.
Our work has been featured in magazines such as Dwell, Modern in Denver, and even Cosmo.
Most recently, we won an International Architecture Award for our tiny house, Atlas, in New York City, and we're able to walk down the red carpet.
There's a couple things that separate us from other architectural firms. One, we're experts in Revit. We teach at CU Boulder, and we take those lessons and apply them to our firm. The second is that we have vast construction knowledge that we apply to your project.
The third is our personalities. Alex and I are good old Midwestern souls, and we like to think that we can go out and glad hand and get along with the best of them, including people on the farm, the ranch, in the cities, or in the suburbs.
Our firm got started in the recession, and from that recession, we learned some key lessons. We basically learned to build a system, and that system is based off of fundamentals. So one of the main fundamental points that we have is we like to model your design, your house, whatever you're making, like it gets built. So we use a sophisticated program called Revit. And this is different from what many architects use or have used in the past, which is AutoCAD. So AutoCAD is basically 2D lines, basically hand-drawn in the computer. Now Revit is a little bit different. It's 3D and it's parametric. So what that means is what we're modeling is actually to the size and scale and as real life as possible. So we're actually making that house in the computer.
When we first started our firm 7 years ago, we didn't have a lot of built work out there. So in order for us to be able to convince clients that we were worthy of obtaining that work, we had to develop this sort of a model system where we were virtually modeling and building the projects beforehand, so that we knew going into construction that it could competently get built the way we designed it.
So we have 3 featured projects that we'd like to tell you about to kind of explain how we think and how we do things. And the first one is a tiny house. So we built Atlas Tiny House, and it was on HGTV. And this kind of segues because not only do we design, we also build ourselves from that knowledge that we had. So what's cool about Atlas basically is that if you think about a regular tiny house, and if you're not familiar with it, it's essentially a cabin on wheels, and it's a tiny cabin on wheels. But when we break things down into our fundamentals, we simplify. Because if we are able to simplify, we can explore ideas at a deeper level and come to what we think is better solutions. So one thing that we did, and I'll draw it here and we'll do a zoom up for you guys. But basically, if we have a truck pulling a tiny house, we tapered it in the front so that the wind could go over the tiny house. What this also allowed us to do is that we could put solar panels on it, and we could also collect the rainwater. So that initial form basically shaped our fundamental ideas. And the next thing that we did is I get a little bit claustrophobic. So I thought we should have one wall that's mainly windows. But when that's going down the road, you want to protect that. So to expand this tiny house idea, we had a deck that folded up and an awning that folded down. So then when you park, you can fold down that deck, fold up the awning, and you can kind of double your space, especially with that whole glass wall. And what better thing to put there on that glass wall than a bar? So then that bar kind of transitions in between the spaces. We also do regular custom homes, and one of my favorites is one that you were a lead on.
So one of our favorite houses that we've done so far is we call it the Jazz House, and it's that classic example of a client that we all dream about as architects getting. And so it was ended up being a doctor and a jazz musician. And the jazz musician, I'll never forget the one line that he told me when we first met on site to go start designing their house. And it was, "I want everybody in Denver to know my house as the Jazz House. So when they turn the corner, I want them to see it, and it's an iconic house." So we actually ended up coming up with 3 different options for them. And we presented them sort of in a consecutive order of most practical all the way over to the most complicated or crazy.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to say it. It was one of our old professors used to say, maybe we have a case of the angles. So Alex's concept was one of the most complicated ones, but it was cool. I mean, it looked like a spaceship really coming down
Yeah,
landing.
it was a spaceship informed by mountains, and initially they just loved it. They just loved it, but then they came back to this kind of middle ground, this nexus of we want practical but also cool. So they picked one of Lance's design that kind of met at the crosshairs of this.
And originally that design was very classic mid-century modern in that it was boxy, it had a flat roof, but the floor plan was practical. So what they loved about it was they loved the floor plan. And we understand that clients can digest floor plans and understand them at a quicker pace than maybe trying to understand the whole 3D model. So once we showed them the 3D model, they actually said, we'd like you to jazz it up. So it ended up morphing into this really cool cacophony of shed roofs that played on each other, and it actually looks like a musical piece of architecture, in my opinion.
One of the coolest features on that, I think, is the X-bracing. So we have roofs that overhang pretty far, and we weren't afraid of that because of our background. So Lance designed a custom X-brace that holds these roofs up, which I think kind of lets it stand out.
Alex, I want to talk about our first substantial residential project, and that is the Golden Duplex. And the lessons we learned from doing that project together, and then how we've tried to filter that and through the firm as we move forward.
I love that project. Essentially, a client came to us and they bought a lot, and the foundation was already there, and they had floor plans to build the house on there. But the problem was that basically in the middle of this house was a stair that separated the rooms, and the plans were basically, even though they were supposed to be built in the 2000s, they looked like the 70s.
I would say the 70s because they were very compartmentalized, and what I mean by that is there was formal dining rooms, formal living rooms, walls all over the place. So the client of ours also is sort of a mid-century modernist, and one of the ideas that we love and everybody seems to love these days is an open concept floor plan.
Yeah. So we moved the stair to the side, opened everything up, and then for the exterior, we took our cues from the mountains and made a very cool roof that mimics that kind of asymmetrical cool pattern. So it doesn't really look like a duplex, it looks like a nice house.
Do you remember the first project we really worked on together?
I do. It was a skyscraper called Grow.
And it was my idea to call it Grow, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give you credit for that. Basically, we had a sustainable skyscraper competition, and instead of just doing the normal idea of adding wind turbines or solar panels, we asked the question, what if a building could grow? We basically took that tall, boxy skyscraper shape, and then we tapered it at the top and then widened its space for stability. Then we pointed it towards the sun so that we could collect the most light. We twisted the top towards where the winds were coming, and then we split it apart because it was in San Francisco and we could collect the fog. So that fog rolls through the split in our building, and you can actually collect it through these tarps. And these tarps harness that fog, turn it into rainwater. And then on that whole side where it was facing the sun, we did a dual glass wall system. So in between there was the structure and then plants. So the water fed the plants, and the plants, not only could you grow things to feed yourself, plants also filter the air. So in San Francisco, not only did we have a sustainable skyscraper that powered itself to collect the wind through turbines, and then on that south side, photovoltaics to collect the sun power, but then it had the plants that filtered the air, so you have a giant filter in San Francisco.
What was cool about the south side that Alex was describing is we treated that as the front yard. So at the same time, we wanted to create basically houses in the sky. So what we ended up with was floor plans that were a skip-stop scenario. So they were 2 stories instead of 1 story, your typical 1-story condo. So we're trying to recreate the conditions that happen on the ground in a typical house. Then on the back side of the skyscraper, where it faced the Oakland Bridge, we put balconies out there so that people would feel like they have a front yard and a backyard. So they really got to permeate through all the way through the skyscraper on 2 different levels. If you're thinking about doing an addition to your house, I think we're the right firm to call because of our extensive knowledge of residential construction that spans back into the century. So we do a lot of additions to old bungalows down in Denver and throughout Colorado, actually. We've done so many that I truly believe we understand exactly how these structures were originally built and how we should marry new construction to the old structures. We're also very efficient when we design spaces, and every single time I meet with a new client to do an addition or a pop top on their house, I custom tailor the proposal to their needs and listen to their every beckoning whim on what exactly they need in the addition.
So on the opposite side of that, from that small personal care, we also do builder plans. So we have a couple clients where basically they're neighborhoods that we're developing floor plans for, 200, 350 lot units. And essentially why I think we're such a good fit for that also is because we're quick and efficient, and we do that through training. So when we bring someone on board, we just don't let them, do whatever they want, have their own style. We have a regimented system of training so that they're quick in Revit and they're very efficient at it. And then we also bring that construction knowledge to the plans. So not only just being out in the field, but taking those practical, simple steps. One example would be build in 2-foot increments. So all lumber, OSB, plywood comes in 2-foot increments. So basically what that means is that your foundations are easier to pour because your framing for your foundations, it comes in 2-foot increments. And there's less waste on the site too. So you're buying that much material anyways, you might as well use that much material.
One of our other areas of expertise is doing assisted facility group homes for people that are in need of memory care or Alzheimer's. And this is sort of one of the feel-good typologies that we do at our firm. We take a lot of pride in providing quality group homes and spaces for these types of clients. So we've most recently done 4 group homes that were 16 beds each down in Jefferson County. It was a $5 million project, very successful floor plans. And what's great about these typologies and the floor plans that we're establishing for our clients is that we also provide them presentation style floor plans and renderings, so they are able to sell out their spaces and their group homes before they're even built. So it's a win-win for everybody. Not only are we able to produce beautiful homes that people can live a healthy life in, but our clients are happy because their business was working well.
Yeah. Our commercial projects that we do a lot of tenant finishes. So if you have a space, we've put restaurants in there, everything from an ammo store to selling sofas.
Most recently, a dental surgery center, which a lot of people might not think would be a cool project, but for us, we took it and ran with it. The lobby, I think, is going to be stellar. We also try to take into account when we do medical places like that, medical projects, that we try to create architecture that helps the patients feel comfortable. We understand that they're going into spaces that might make them feel uncomfortable. Everybody's afraid of the dentist, so we've worked really hard in trying to make the spaces gracious and full of light and welcoming.
Do you know what my favorite commercial project is to do? A bar. Absolutely right. So we also do bars, and they bring us booze, and we never ask for it, but I think that's an indicator that
How many bars have we done? I think 3, right?
Yep, 3 bars. So if you are a client looking to design a bar, we are your men. One of the next cool things that we're doing is that we're not just taking all of our design knowledge and applying it just simply to other people's projects. We're applying it to our own because we like to walk the talk. So we bought a piece of land and we're doing our own development. And this is really going to hold our feet to the fire and let us see this whole process from a different perspective, from the developer perspective,
to the realtor perspective,
to the contractor perspective, even down to the field work on a large project. So it's going to be 8 residential units, and then it'll have a commercial unit attached. And I think this is going to be the culmination of basically everything that we've been learning. And I think it's going to help not only us, but the people in our firm and eventually our future clients.
In 2013, we started to come out of the recession, and Alex and I needed to expand. So in that need to expand, we started to look for employees. And one of the first roadblocks we found is that the employees that we were looking at were not readily plug and play into our firm. And so, one of our ideas is that we fundamentally just cross the T's and dot the I's. So if we want to be able to bring people in that can just plug and play and be right into our system and just be chugging and designing and doing all the good stuff that we do. So when we identified that problem, Alex had the bright idea of just sending an email over to the University of Colorado in Boulder and saying, hey, we're looking at your students. We would like to help make them more employable, not only for us, but for the entire community. Is there any way we could just help you out and teach these students the software that we use every day?
And they said yes. So we happen to teach at CU. We teach engineers and architects, students, how to draw, how to draft, so how to sketch, how to draft, how to design, and how to use Revit. And basically the process is that the best students become our TAs, and then the best TAs become our employees. And then we even train them once they come up. So we have this system that we believe gives us not only the best employees, but you the best team to work for. So when you come, and if you choose to work with F9, the process will be pretty simple. We'd want to meet on your site and talk to you and get your wants, needs, and desires. From there, we'd go back and then we'd develop a detailed proposal that would lay out the different phases of your projects, what we're going to deliver in those phases, and then the costs associated with those. So if you're interested in F9, go ahead and contact us. Our phone numbers are on the website. Our emails are on the website. We're on Facebook, Twitter, anything. We'd love to hear from you.
Better? Was that good?
Let's just, yes, that's probably as good as we're gonna get. I'm Alex Gore, and this is Lance Psycho, and we're the principals of F9 Production.
One more time. We're fast, we're friendly, we're affordable, and we're fun to work with.
We are fun to work with. You will like us.
Most recently, we've been doing, where to go from there? I thought you were just gonna pick up.
Done. That was hard.
Only 4 takes.
Yeah.